TV 26, the Valley's first major newscast of the day, the Midday Report, with Paul Lowe and the rest of the 26 News team.
Good morning, everyone. Troops at Beirut Airport are trying to wait out at least 3 gunmen identified as Shiite Muslim militiamen aboard an Air Cyprus jetliner. The gunmen are holding 9 crew members hostage aboard that plane. They are giving officials in Cyprus 12 hours to free convicted terrorists within that time limit. The gunmen are believed armed with semi-automatic weapons and hand grenades. A murder trial unprecedented for its openness in a communist country has ended in Poland. 4 members of the secret police have been sentenced to prison terms ranging from 14 to 25 years for the October kidnap and murder of pro-Solidarity priest Jerzy Popiełuszko. The judge refused to sentence the ringleader to death. President Reagan's 4th State of the Union speech is history, and in Washington, things are back as normal today. The address was much shorter than usual, 37 minutes, but in it, Reagan called for a second American Revolution, saying the efforts of his first administration were only the beginning. John Aubuchon has more.
Even the Democrats were impressed, acknowledging again that Ronald Reagan is the master of political rhetoric in the television age.
All of that's kind of stock Ronald Reagan, and good and positive and upbeat.
Republican leaders conceded that there was little new in the speech, that it was at most an eloquent challenge to Congress and the American people to get on with the agenda the president has laid out before. But that did not restrain their enthusiasm for the speech.
I thought the president was magnificent.
Even administration critics found a major theme of the speech to praise. Many Democrats were pleased to see the priority the president gave to tax reform. For example, Senator Bill Bradley, who's been pushing a similar package of his own.
I think he made a major step towards putting it on the front burner again.
But other parts of the message, the balanced budget amendment, defense spending, domestic budget cuts, these weren't as popular with the opposition.
For example, he spoke of fairness, and yet the elderly, the veterans, the black lung recipients, these people are going to have to pay more for Medicare and Medicaid and so on.
But criticism from the Democrats made no impression at all here this morning. The president, we're told, thought his reception last night was unusually warm and was happy with the birthday greetings Congress sang to him, and with the overwhelmingly favorable phone calls received by the White House after the speech. For the Independent News, John Aubuchon at the White House.
And reaction began pouring in immediately after the president's speech. Following the address to the joint session of Congress, 26 News talked with our Valley congressmen for their opinions.
I think his words are comforting and are effective, but we have to look at what he does. And I'm very much concerned, for instance, that the defense budget is way out of kilter with the economy and kind of makes the talk about balancing the budget almost comical.
Well, I thought it was a very reasoned and balanced approach. He was addressing a broad spectrum, and I think he was really trying to get the Congress to act in a united fashion.
He obviously does a good job on these type of speeches. It was general and short on specifics, but it was well done.
All 3 representatives agree Congress will not approve the increase in defense spending the president is asking for. TASS, the official Soviet news agency, is reporting this morning that President Konstantin Chernenko attended a meeting of the ruling Politburo today. Chernenko has not been seen in public since December 27th, and there have been widespread speculation that he was gravely ill. In fact, a London newspaper today quoted sources as saying Chernenko had suffered a massive heart attack. But today's report by TASS says Chernenko told the Politburo that the spring sowing would be especially important this year. Defense Secretary Caspar Weinberger went on the offensive this morning before the Senate Budget Committee to protect his $313 billion Pentagon budget. Weinberger told the committee every dollar was vital, and he said a defense budget freeze would cripple or eliminate crucial military programs. Caspar Weinberger's defense budget has come under sharp criticism from both Democrats and Republicans in Congress. Overseas, 18 bodies have been recovered from an apartment building that collapsed this morning in Castellaneta, Italy. Rescuers fear more than 50 additional people may have died in the collapse, which happened while residents slept. Heavy equipment is not being used in the rescue attempt for fear part of the building still standing may collapse. Closer to home, cleanup efforts continue today at an Army munitions plant in Radford, Virginia, where a nitroglycerin explosion yesterday vaporized a building and killed 2 workers. The blast happened as the nitroglycerin was being piped in a storage area. Damage was so severe, officials doubt the cause will ever be found. Meantime, the remainder of those 35 bus passengers injured in an accident yesterday in Los Angeles have been released from 5 hospitals this morning. Miraculously, no one was killed when a Cadillac ran a red light, plowing broadside into a bus. The driver of the car is still listed in critical condition. Meantime, Freeway 99 just south of Merced was closed for more than 3 hours this morning when a tanker trailer loaded with 48,000 gallons of gasoline overturned and exploded. Highway Patrol officials say the driver of the tanker truck, Samuel Berry, apparently fell asleep at the wheel while driving southbound. Berry drove the car and the truck tanker lead out of the way and was not injured.
This is an important message no one 65 or older on Medicare should miss. You recognize this? It's from Medicare. And for 17 straight years, a notice like this has been sent to people like you, telling you that your Medicare coverage will be cut back, that you'll have to pay more out of your own pocket, that now for a 150-day hospitalization, you'll have to pay as much as $15,400. There's nothing you can do about Medicare's cutbacks, but you can protect yourself right now by calling this toll-free number for this notice about secure care, the quality Medicare supplement insurance from National Home Life. Secure Care will pay 100% of that $15,400 for you. So call now and find out how Secure Care can help pay the bills Medicare does not pay.
Simple chronic halitosis, a very real condition.
I've tried everything. Mints, gum, I rinse, I brush, but my bad breath keeps coming back.
Simple chronic halitosis, our name for recurring breath odor not due to illness. Livoris fights that bad breath. Livoris with 3 cleansing stages, freshens instantly, contains zinc chloride to neutralize bad breath vapors and protect breath for hours. Livoris.
You're like a breath of fresh air.
Livoris fights even simple chronic halitosis.
If you're a smoker, try this test. Blow smoke through a handkerchief. That's how smoking stains your teeth. But Topol Smoker's Tooth Polish can get your teeth brighter again. Of 250,000 Topol users surveyed, 94% said yes, they'd continue buying Topol.
Because Topol really does the job.
My teeth are whiter and brighter.
Use Topol and watch your teeth get brighter.
Free Butler Gum 411 toothbrush, $1.87 value when you buy Topol Smoker's Tooth Polish.
The #1 toxic waste site on the governor's fix-it list is getting some close attention. Tom Adams reports cleanup is underway at a former Dinuba electronics firm.
Flex Multi-Layers in Dinuba may be defunct, but it was the scene of lots of activity today, the cleanup kind. Staff from the Toxic Waste Division of the State Health Department monitored the removal of highly dangerous waste material. Close to 280 drums of waste are being cleared out at a cost that could range between $100,000 and $150,000. Today's operation is the removal of about 80 drums, the most acidic of the waste material inside this huge warehouse. State officials say the full job for cleanup may take anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks. Heading up the state monitoring team is Jerry White. What contaminants are in these drums? If you can explain that.
Primarily acids. When I say acids, I'm talking about something with a pH of less than 2 on a scale of 1 to 7 being an acid. Some caustics, which is a high pH, and some heavy concentrations of heavy metals.
The case has gone through a state inquiry all the way to the Tulare County DA's office for criminal prosecution and a #1 rating on the state's toxic cleanup list. Dinuba City Manager Bob Adams is glad there's finally some action.
I think we were surprised that we were #1. We've been working with the state since the last summer to make sure that this site, that something happened to the site, that it did get cleaned up. We were aware that we had a problem, and we couldn't find a responsible party. The company went out of business.
This site got our attention several months ago, and we haven't really let up on them since that time, and I don't think the fact that it's #1 on the list really makes much difference.
Phase 1 of the cleanup is going to cost about $20,000. White says the state is pushing the former company to finance most of this project. In Dinuba, Tom Adams, 26 News.
Also in the South Valley, Hanford Union High School has been placed on probation by the West Yosemite League because of an incident last month in which basketball referee Clifford Irving was beaten after he ejected several spectators for rowdy behavior during a freshman game. After the January 28th game between Hanford and Lemoore High Schools, Irwin suffered a broken wrist, 2 teeth were knocked out, his neck was injured, and he suffered a broken nose. Hanford police are investigating the incident, but so far no arrests have been made. A Fresno man charged with killing his father and wounding a jogger who witnessed the shooting pleaded innocent at his arraignment yesterday. Gary Joaquin is scheduled for trial April 22nd in Fresno County Superior Court for the November 25th murder of 86-year-old Manuel Joaquin at the family home. Jogger Phil Patterson, who happened to be running by the Joaquin residence, suffered several shotgun pellet wounds, but Patterson has since recovered. Fresno police and an independent insurance company hope to capture suspects in a recent string of robberies in the West Fresno area. Captain Pat Rain says 20 people have been robbed in the last 2 months, with more than half of the victims being Oriental. The most recent was George Takaoka, who was shot in the stomach January 27th while returning home from church. Rain says the suspects are described as 2 black males in their 20s, whose pattern of attack is usually the same.
The series of robberies has involved 2 black men in their 20s, armed with a handgun, who have been victimizing people who have traveled from some point and have arrived home, and they are accosted generally in the area of their automobile or as they approach their homes.
The Independent Insurance Carrier Managers Association is offering a $500 reward for information leading to the arrest of the suspects. If you have any information, you are urged to call Captain Rains at 488-1271. Next year, you may see preschool-age children on the Fresno City College campus. State Center Community College District trustees have voted to establish an on-campus child development laboratory at the college. The lab will provide students enrolled in child development courses with practical experience with children. The lab will also have a second purpose. It will be at Campus Day Center for 100 children of students. It is intended to open by the fall of 1986. Meantime, hitting the television screen much sooner are episodes of The Honeymooners that haven't been seen in over 20 years. Jackie Gleason, the creator of the hit series, recently found them locked away in his personal vault, but it has since been sold to viewing rights for the pretty penny. Frank Casey reports.
Cost a pound.
Ralph, when you lose a pound, it's like Bayonne losing a mosquito.
The eternally fresh saga of Ralph and Alice Cramden and their upstairs neighbors Trixie and Ed Norton continues in 52 rediscovered Honeymooners episodes not seen in 30 years. It's enough to make fans go hummina, hummina, hummina.
Oh, Ragbot! R-A-G-G-M-O-P-P, Ragbot! Oh, Ragbot!
The lost treasures were found in Jackie Gleason's Miami vault. Gleason sold the rights to Viacom International for undisclosed multi-millions of dollars. But why were the sure-shot moneymakers kept off TV syndication for all these years? At a news conference, the great one cleared up the mystery in his own inimitable way.
Why were they in the vault so long? No one asked for anything. And we had them there, nice, stacked up in an air-conditioned room, waiting for the phone to ring. And finally it rang. And that's why we're here tonight.
Are you making a lot of money out of this?
No. I'll make my money from doing the wraparounds.
The great one watched some of the new episodes on a TV monitor. Here's how Jackie Gleason today reacted to Jackie Gleason several years ago.
You are an idiot. Maybe I am an idiot, but I ain't got a doorknob hanging out of my mouth.
I guess that was pretty funny then.
The 52 shows will run on cable television's Showtime for a year, then go into syndication on commercial television stations all across the country, rerunning forever. For the Independent News, I'm Frank Casey.
One of these days, pow, right in the kissing.
What will you get out of this
this week's National Enquirer.
Take a look.
How to beat stress. Here's a simple plan to improve your life.
Loving ideas for Valentine's Day.
The Jackson family feud. How Michael healed the bitter rift.
How to be happy without the perfect body.
Useful news for inquiring minds.
How to make your meals look great.
Those dark circles under your eyes could be an allergy.
Which necklines are right for you.
Jackie Onassis gives $1 million to both her children.
And both announce their wedding plan.
With all they put into it,
you get more out of it.
This week's National Enquirer.
Simple chronic halitosis, a very real condition.
I don't know what to do. I rinse, I brush after meals, and I still get bad breath a lot.
Simple chronic halitosis, our name for recurring breath odor not due to illness. Livoris fights that bad breath. Livoris with 3 cleansing stages, freshens instantly, contains zinc chloride to neutralize bad breath vapors and protect breath for hours. Livoris.
You're like a breath of fresh air.
Livoris fights even simple chronic halitosis.
It's official. Porterville Trailer Center is now the exclusive dealer for Pinnacle Motorhomes in Fresno, Kings, and Tulare counties. Judge for yourself. These Pinnacle Motorhomes are fully featured luxury units that reflect the styling, livability, and performance of comparable designs costing 2 and 3 times as much. You simply won't believe it until you compare for yourself. The elegant new Pinnacle by Establishment, featured now at Porterville Trailer Center, family owned and operated for 17 years.
I used to drink too much, way too much. Finally, my wife couldn't take it anymore. A few weeks ago, she made a simple phone call that changed our lives. She called the ARC at Fresno Community Hospital. There are other places to look for help, but the ARC has a 24-hour crisis line, and they've been successfully treating alcoholics and their families for over 10 years. Just one phone call. Now, my family's back together again. The best years of our lives started at the ARC.
Thousands of people in the San Joaquin Valley spend their waking hours just wondering where they're going to live and what they're going to eat. And countless numbers of these down-and-out families have come to Fresno and other Central California communities hoping for a chance for a better life. They are called the nation's new poor. And Rich Dixon has more in this report.
I never thought that I would take my family actually down to Skid Row in the Mission area.
His name is Raymond Hearn, a Vietnam veteran who, with his wife Vicki and son David, is out of work, broke, and stuck in the valley. Raymond, like so many others, wasn't prepared for the conditions he found.
We were there because of an immediate emergency. But by choice, I've advanced from there to here, and from here, I'm definitely going to keep them out of the streets and out of places such as that.
The luckiest of the new poor find their way to shelters run by churches, private agencies, and by the county. But for each family fortunate enough to find temporary housing, dozens more have to be turned away.
I'm getting more and more phone calls than I used to get. In January, I had 187 phone calls for housing.
5 years ago, we had a family of 1 or 2 families from out of town or out of state. There was the high numbers. We have noticed in the last 6 months or so, there sometimes 8, 9, 10 of a family. We have 30 units, 32 units. 8, 9, 10, as high as 10 of the families that are there are from out of town.
The people we talked to say they came to Fresno for 2 reasons. One is the inexpensive cost of living. The other is the promise of a job. Well, apparently, it is less expensive to live here in the valley than in other places in the state. But the promise of a job often turns out to be a cruel hoax.
We'd heard that maybe there was jobs here in Fresno, like maybe so many others, but it wasn't true at all.
Experts agree that as long as the major cities of the country have runaway rent and high costs of living, the valley will seem attractive to thousands of the new poor.
The job is there, but who gets there first? It's that one job, and 50, 60 guys are left out starting over again no matter where you go.
In Fresno, Rich Dixon, 26 News.
And net income for California farmers declined 5% last year, and it is projected by Security Pacific Bank economists that a 2% drop in income is forthcoming this year. The bank said the strong dollar, depressed prices, overproduction, deflated land values were responsible for the current financial problems of California farmers. Now, speaking in Fresno yesterday, the economist said the bank is usually reluctant to foreclose on agricultural properties, but lenders will find it necessary to foreclose on some borrowers in '85 if no other solutions can be found. Meantime, the Reagan administration has announced the latest farm credit plan, which increases federal loan guarantees. But critics say the plan is too little, too late. Barry Cunningham reports.
Bob Wood's ancestors homesteaded this 300-acre dairy farm in Pennsylvania. But when the dairy farmer began borrowing on new land and equipment in the 70s, low milk prices and high interest rates created a mountain of debt. The result is a ghost farm. A year ago, Bob Woods had to sell off his milk herd. Now he may lose the farm itself. The farmer would need $250,000 to get out from under his debt load on a farm that never earned more than $6,000 a year in profit. All that remains are a couple of steer beef and a pet cow that the family couldn't bear to part with.
I'm 56 years old, and I think that I'll just give up.
Give up on a way of life?
No. Continue with that, but farming, I think, is done for me.
Bob and Barbara Woods typify almost 30% of the nation's mid-sized family farm operators. They have exhausted their credit and are being driven off the land. Bob now works as a laborer in a U.S. Army depot. They sell some leftover hay, but all the farm produces is more debt. $1,600 a month in interest alone on farmers' home administration loans.
We have 2 married sons, both of which would love to take over the operation. But who's going to finance them? We can't afford to farm it. No one else can afford to buy it. What happens to us? You're sitting here on something that you know you've built, you've watched, do all of the things the expert told you to do. And it didn't work.
The Agriculture Department suggests that small farmers have only themselves to blame for the credit crisis.
How about the individual who was not successful running a drugstore or a barber shop or any other small business in America? Not all will make it, and not all are making it for either debt reasons or management skills or any number of reasons. They will not be able to continue in business, but the vast majority will.
Of course, when farmers get hurt, so do their creditors. In the past year, 79 agriculture banks have closed down. 10 farm credit associations have folded. Thousands of farms have been auctioned off. What can be done to save the Woods family and thousands of other farm families just like them? Everybody agrees there are no easy answers. But if the new farm bill can't help them, their way of life may indeed be over. For the Independent News, Barry Cunningham in Fenitsburg, Pennsylvania.
Well, Park Place and Boardwalk are the 2 hottest properties in the history of real estate. It's the anniversary time for 2 of Parker Brothers games as they celebrated 50 years of the board game Monopoly. And to commemorate the occasion, the anniversary edition of the game has been printed. And believe it or not, Parker Brothers first turned down the idea for the game, saying it was too complicated. But company officials wisely reconsidered. Monopoly has now gone on to become the most popular board game in history. What started out as a few dolls passed from grandmother on has grown into a collection of antiques that is the envy of many doll fanciers here in the valley. Today, 26 Lifestyle takes a look at Elizabeth Betsy Dean, the doll lady.
Well, I have about 100 dolls now, I imagine. I haven't counted just recently, but approximately that. I have to keep a small collection, basically, because I don't have a great deal of storage space for them. So they alternate between the doll cupboard or the linen cupboard, and they like to, as many of them as possible, like to be out. And well, I get attracted for various reasons to a doll. Basically, if a doll talks to me, it's usually meant for me to have it. Most of my collection, I would say, is based on love, rather than, or the love value, rather than the intrinsic value entirely. I can be just as happy with a doll that costs a few pennies as I can with one that costs several $1,000s, assuming that the doll and I establish a rapport. Well, there's one doll which was rescued from a dustbin, that's English for garbage can. Her mother had saved the clothes for me and thrown the doll out. Lovely kid body doll. So I said, no, don't do that. So she and her husband were out digging around in their garbage can at midnight to dig this doll out. And she was the first old doll that I got in England. Her name was Violet. So Violet she is. First of all, the ones that I had already acquired, like my grandmother's and others, went over to London, and then they all came back to Porterville. So they're a well-traveled group. And that's right. And then they told the ones who kind of stayed here permanently what life was like over there, you see. So they have great fun talking and everything.
Oh, that's great.
I'm sure after I go to bed, there's great fun and games in the doll room.
For more on Betsy Dean and her fascinating collection, be sure to watch the Sunday edition with Neva Snell and Joel Cheatwood.
The FBI, starring Ephraim Zimbalist Jr.
They may be involved in the kidnapping.
Richard Mills, FBI.
For 8 years, the FBI was one of America's most popular TV shows. And the star was Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. You'd think acting is the most important thing in Ephraim Zimbalist Jr.'s life. But it isn't. Listen.
The most important thing in my life is my personal relationship with God. My career as an actor and producer is exciting, but I can't be part of the entertainment industry without having to make difficult choices every day. Choices that affect others as well as me. That's why I turn to God for help. He gives me solutions to my daily problems and a real purpose for living. He's truly my friend. He promised, I will never leave you. You too can know God personally and experience his wonderful love and power in your own life. A new paperback book has just been published that can help you. It's called Power for Living. It'll help you find strength and courage and start you on the way to the greatest experience any human being can know, a personal relationship with God.
You can get a free copy of Power for Living simply by calling this number. It is being presented as a public service by the Arthur S. DeMoss Foundation. Power for Living will help you meet your problems and challenges and win. To get your free copy of this helpful book, call this number toll-free. Remember, there's no obligation, no one will call, and no one will visit you. This 144-page book will be mailed to your home. Call this toll-free number now.
Power for Living can guide you to a whole new way of living and succeeding. It worked for me. Try it.
To get your free copy of Power for Living, call this toll-free number now.
Time to get out the umbrellas. It looks like the Central Valley will have a chance of rain before the end of the day. Moving now to the specific forecast, the San Francisco Bay Area will have clouds with light rain as well. Along the coast, there should be rain showers, highs in the 50s. Further south in Los Angeles, it will be cloudy with a chance of sprinkles here and there, highs in the 50s and 60s. In the state capital, skies will be cloudy with light rain, highs in the 40s. In the mountains, cloudy skies is the weather word with some light rain. And in Bakersfield, increasing clouds with a slight chance of rain later on today. In Fresno, in the central San Joaquin Valley, we will have cloudy skies with a 60% chance of rain, highs in the 50s. Fresno should reach 55 today, overnight low of 40. The extended forecast calls for rain likely through Saturday with clouds and lingering showers in the Sierra. Now the current weather conditions at the Fresno Air Terminal. 25 years is a long time to wait for something, but when it comes to a #1 song, that dream is worth waiting for. Just ask any musician. That's what happened to a Valley musician. Bonnie Montevecchi has his story.
Mendota-born Ray Camacho started a band in 1960. He did love music, but he also needed to raise money to attend Fresno City College. 25 years later, and several trophies, plaques, and 21 albums later, the 44-year-old singer and trumpet player has hit #1 on the Spanish charts. The song is a remake of the Stevie Wonder tune, I Just Called to Say I Love You, in Spanish.
Te amé porque te quiero. Te amé porque te adoro yo. Te amé porque te quiero.
Why would you say it's taken you so long to hit #1 nationwide?
I don't know. Apparently it's the material, the lack of material, or I don't know, it's just luck.
There are no original members of the band besides Ray left, but Mingo Cervantes has been with the group about 18 years. The 6 band members are like family to Ray.
What's been your most memorable experience in your 25 years of making music?
Well, I guess playing in Vietnam under combat conditions. I went 3 times, and that was really, really an enjoyment. And I enjoy playing the leper colonies or the prisons. I enjoy playing things like that because people there need to see entertainment, whether it's us or anybody else. It's got to be entertainment.
What's next for Ray Camacho?
Well, we're cutting an album right now, and I think we're going to cut 3 albums this year.
We'll have more on the Ray Camacho Band and just what their secret to success is on the Sunday edition. In Fresno, Bonnie Montevecchi, 26 News.
Well, coming up tonight on the TV 26 10 o'clock news with Janet Stoll. Attorney General Van de Kamp talks about his Narcotics Advisory Task Force with peace officers meeting here in Fresno. We'll show you that gathering, plus an in-depth look at the miracle of laser surgery. These stories and more tonight at 10. That is our midday report for this Thursday, February 7th. Thank you for joining us. Have yourself a good day.